Push to restart. The IMF wants major policy changes across Sub-Saharan Africa as it sees more economic woes ahead. Electric relaxation. A new initiative aims to provide constant and reliable power across the continent. And SOS. South Africa's macro vision to save its struggling micro shops. Hello and welcome to Business Africa. I'm Tukumbo Salako. The International Monetary Fund says there are tough times ahead for Sub-Saharan Africa, which is set to experience a second successive year of downturns after a prolonged period of strong growth. It's difficult to deny the global moneylenders' conclusions as so-called multiple shocks have hit the region hard, namely low commodity prices, the cost of dealing with the Ebola crisis, and a severe drought that's wreaked havoc in several countries. With financing constrained and fiscal and foreign reserves depleting rapidly for many states, the IMF says serious policy changes can't come quickly enough. Claire Muthinji and Johnson Wahane compiled our first report.
The International Monetary Fund has cut Sub-Saharan Africa's economic outlook for 2016 as the region reels from multiple shocks of low commodity prices, Ebola virus outbreak and drought. In its latest economic outlook report for the region, the fund says growth is expected to fall to 3% this year, the lowest level in 15 years. IMF has called for policy reforms across the region to ensure economic growth in the medium to the long term. In a statement, IMF's Director for Africa, Antoinette Saye, said Africa needs a substantial policy reset, particularly in commodity exporters, to reap the region's strong potential. The fund singled out Africa's biggest economies, Nigeria and South Africa, which are also currently among the weakest, citing economic turbulence. South Africa's economy will expand by 0.6% this year, while Nigeria's growth is expected to stand at 2.3%, according to the IMF. Despite the gloom, the IMF says that economic outlook in the region remains favorable and added that Ivory Coast, Kenya and Senegal could register growth in excess of 5%, supported by ongoing infrastructure investment efforts and strong private consumption. An improved business environment and favorable demographics will also play a supportive role in these economies in the long term.
In Nigeria, the former state-run energy firm NEPA is synonymous with electricity cuts. The idea of never expect power always can equally be applied in several states, although few can match the billions the country's spent, or some would say wasted, over decades trying to solve the problem. That's perhaps why the new Nigerian head of the African Development Bank has made it a priority to provide the continent with constant, uninterrupted power. Jean-David Mehamele and Kenneth Karuri have more.
Sellers of electric generators are certainly benefiting from the energy deficiency in Africa, as illustrated in this shopping street in Nigeria's capital, Lagos. It's a paradox for a continent that has mighty rivers such as the Congo, Zambezi and the Nile flowing through it. The water from these rivers, if harnessed, will enable Africa to ensure it's self-sufficient in electricity and march steadily to its industrialization goal. The new African Development Bank president, Nigeria's Akinwumi Adesina, has made energy production one of the main areas of the organization and linked it with the continent's future development.
Africa today has 645 million people without access to electricity and 700 million people that don't have access to clean cooking energy. And therefore, at the African Development Bank, we believe that Africa is totally tired of being in the dark. So we're going to invest $12 billion into the energy sector in the next 5 years.
As a solution to the electrification problems, the African Development Bank joined the Commission of the African Union, NEPAD, the United Nations Commission for Africa, and the Nigerian Ministry of Finance to launch the Africa Power Vision joint venture. The ambitious program aims to electrify 80% of African households by the year 2040. The other objective of Africa Power Vision Horizon is also to provide energy to 90% of mainland enterprises. The project plans for, among other things, the construction of an 8,000-kilometer-long transmission line across the continent. To achieve this, it will take boldness, imagination and determination by African leaders.
Jean-David Mihamele joins me now to talk further about that report. Jean-David, you ended your piece saying that boldness and imagination are required from African leaders. But what else is preventing this from happening, having reliable energy across the continent?
We spoke about imagination earlier. We also need audacity from African leaders to take the best people and put them in the best places in order to accompany a vision. Africa needs energy in equality and quantity. With enough energy, Africa could make a substantial leap forward, even perhaps have double-digit growth.
Now, Africa, of course, boasts an abundance of natural resources. So what efforts are being made to harness green and develop green energies?
There's more and more awareness because renewable energies can make a valuable contribution to Africa's development. Ugandan engineers are currently operating some public transport buses only on solar energy. And in Kenya, authorities are aiming to power 150,000 homes by using only wind energy. So there is a growing awareness in Africa that we can't only rely on hydrocarbons and fossil fuels to develop the continent.
Il n'y a pas que les hydrocarbures ou alors les autres énergies fossiles pour pouvoir faire développer le continent.
OK, well, Jean-David, thank you for joining us and for your analysis there on Africa's power problems. Now, across the continent, they're known as mini-markets to some, general or tuck stores to others. They're by roadsides in towns and villages, and inside you can often find anything and everything. Collectively, they do big business. In South Africa, they're called spaza shops. But in recent years, local traders have been struggling in the face of foreign competition, which has forced the government to act. Michael Oduo and Brice Kinhu have more.
Spaza shops in South Africa townships are a lifeblood of local communities, contributing over $2.5 million a year to the GDP. The government has introduced training programs to help spaza owners stay afloat as South Africa struggles to cope with a slowing growth rate. For 60 years old, Rose Tau, her spaza shop in Soweto has helped her earn a living after she lost her job.
I opened a spaza because I lost my job and I was unemployed. I was just sitting at home doing nothing. So, because I am a person who likes talking to people, I decided to start a business and I opened this spaza shop.
Ross and other small-scale traders recently graduated from a new 6-week training program implemented by the South Africa government. The project equipped traders and entrepreneurs with the skills they need to run their businesses.
We are now including in what we offer equipment that they need, from refrigerators from those who are in spaza shops to industrial stoves for those that are cooking lunches and breakfasts. We just provide them with what they need from an equipment point of view.
Despite having a population of 50 million, South Africa is also home to an estimated 5 million immigrants from all over the world. The local population is now faced with stiff competition from foreigners who have also ventured in spaza shops.
The only way we can be able to deal with this is to empower our own people so that they don't feel threatened by foreign nationals who are operating and having spaza shops. So we are in dialogue with them to say, let's find ways and means of ensuring that there's tolerance, ensuring that there's peace, security and stability in the townships, because South Africa cannot afford any bad name anywhere.
South Africa is one of Africa's economic powerhouses and is the most industrialized country on the continent. It has over 100,000 informal kiosks across the country that have employed thousands of people.
And that report on South Africa's spaza stores ends this week's Business Africa. You can share your views and comments on our social websites. And of course, there's always more business on Africanews.com. See you next week.